No, I think she is.
Yeah, she's hurt. She took a hard fall off there. Boy, gosh, I hope she's okay.
I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucked.
It just gets me every time. What people don't realize about that clip, that's a young Chris Egan back in the day when he was working down on the Oregon coast. Really, it is. That's not Bill O'Reilly. That's Chris Egan. All right, welcome in. It's a Friday show of the Daily Puck Drop, your daily sports podcast. We got you covered today on a Friday. We'll mix in some baseball, football, high school drama. We'll get you all covered. The go-to guy, Jim Moore, is not here. He is on his way to Parents Weekend. We used to call that Dad's Weekend. Parents Weekend over in Pullman for his two boys. Chris Egan is here. We'll get to him momentarily. We'll see on a scale to 1 to 10 what kind of hangover he's dealing with. Our handicapper, Troy Wins, will stop on by throughout halfway through the show. Friday Night Lights with Todd Milles. We get you updated on the very latest in high school football tonight across the state. Regular season, of course, winding down, playoffs getting underway next week. And we will talk about the story that we will spend a lot of time with Chris Egan on, about the drama up on the plateau. This could be an MTV series, the plateau problems of the Skyline football program. And then the last word with Bob Condotta, the very latest on the Seattle Seahawks. Will look back to their win Monday night against the Houston Texans, looking forward now to the rest of the season. Trade deadline coming up in about 10 days. Of course, we always broadcast the Daily Puck Drop inside the Limbeck Lumber Studios. Contractors, they offer free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects. Largest stock moldings in the Northwest. No, I did not know what a stock molding was until we started doing work with Limbeck Lumber. But they've got the largest stock moldings in the Northwest. They've got old school service. They've been doing it since 1930. Give them a call, 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbecklumber.com. Social media platforms, as always, Puck Sports everywhere except on TikTok, and that is Puck_sports. And you can find everything up at pucksports.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I mentioned the go-to guy not here. He's on his way to God's country for Parents Weekend, but he is here. He joins us every Friday. Longtime sportscaster in this area. He's the trusted voice in all of sports, the number one go-to source for everything. It's our good friend Chris Egan from King 5. Our weekly appearances all brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. Great spot to go and watch any game that you like. Great spot for after those high school football games. Great spot before the high school football games. Great spot for college football, NFL, baseball, all of it. Chris, how are you?
Jason Puckett, I'm doing great. How are you? Just a quick rebuttal on two of your comments there. Jim Moore heading to Parents Weekend. Yes. I think you know this. I remember getting this from a very high-end Wazoo official that told me the number one weekend for DUIs in Pullman was Mom's Weekend. When it was Mom's Weekend, they told me that was the weekend. It was usually a lot of the moms.
Number one. Huh.
That was number one, according to a very high end. And that clip you showed of that you said was me back in Medford. Well, that is a clip you may see tonight, because here's what happens. The rains start coming in, and then you get the anchors back in the studio. And this takes me back probably 16 years ago, one of the first years of the big game, and we're at Stadium High School. And it was a atmospheric river that came in that night, and it is pouring rain. I mean, we are soaked. We have been in the rain. It wasn't a great football game. We're drenched. We're tired. We're trying to, hey. And I think I said on the air, it's really raining hard. It's pouring hard out here. And it looked like a waterfall coming behind me down the stadium cement steps. And literally, I get to the van, and I get a call from a weather person that I don't want to name. It rhymes with Benner, Beth Benner. And I get the call, and it's like, Chris, I don't know if it's pouring out there right now. Let me handle the meteorologist's terms. And I literally tell the phone target, and we are like, we're going live. It is freaking raining out here, big dog. Oh my God!
Meanwhile, Leonard, You're inside the studio
The
with your
warm
mock
studio.
turtleneck.
Yeah.
Talking about my forecast.
Yeah. And I'll get that tonight, Puck. I'll have some producer that's been dry for 10 hours like, hey, Chris, any chance we could get that Kentwood story in anytime? You're going to get it when you get it. You're going to get it when you get the story.
Hey, I've brought this up. I brought it up with Todd Milles. We recorded with Todd earlier. I'm going to bring it up to you as well because you've seen it. I've only seen it really I've seen it at a football game, but you see these at soccer games with the parents. Why don't you just get one of those bubbles? The soccer parents, the bubble, the thing that they look like they're sitting in a little porta potty, but it's like a whole one shield.
Of those. Yeah, you could do that, but then they start. Then they
fog up. They get a little foggy.
You can't see out of them. They fog up.
King 5 should make like a Chris Egan Bubble Boy wrap. The Bubble Boy brought to you by Home Depot.
When I'm in the bubble, just don't leave me alone. I got to write stories. I got to get.
But you're doing the reporting inside the bubble to stay dry.
And I do want to give a shout out, Puck. You and I have been on the big game, but last week we're at Sumner. It was homecoming, and oh my gosh, it's like
I haven't been invited back. You
need to come back because we had a great broadcast, and it's interesting. The broadcast we did is the big story, Skyline. Yes. But before we go down negative road, let's go up positive road and give a shout out to everybody involved with these big games that have been just so inviting. But Sumner High School, man, it's like if you've not seen a high school football game, go there. It's like a little bit of Texas. They had a fireworks show for us. They had a parade.
I saw that.
It was incredible.
Hold on. But they're shooting off fireworks before or after the game?
Halftime. They did a fireworks show. So they did halftime.
It was like the 4th of July verse.
It was better than the fourth. It was better than the fireworks at a Mariners game. I'm going to be honest with you. And hey, if you're a coach or a booster club listening, and interesting because boosters, we'll talk about that in a second here. But smart move here by Sumner. They have a whole VIP section where they have these leather chairs, and you can purchase those chairs and sit down there and enjoy the game. It was fun.
It looks incredible. I've never gone to a game there. I want to, but the fireworks show, the VIP section with like lazy boy chairs.
Oh, it was first class all the way around. And
do they have their own? Chris? Do they have their own Buddy Garrity down there?
There's a couple, but I mean, the stadium is Sunset Chevrolet Stadium. So I mean, you could.
So they do have a Buddy Garrity.
There may be a few of them, but I'm not saying that free food is what makes me happy. But they hand me a full cheese pizza, before the broadcast. So little things, Yeah.
You want to suck up to any sports broadcaster? Just offer them free food.
It's not, listen, moms and dads out there, you want a story in your kid? Don't have to be a genius. Your kid doesn't need a 4.0. No. Just bring a pizza to the local sportscaster.
Maybe some homemade brownies, a Rice Krispie treat. Put some M&Ms on those too.
Fuck, I remember I was up at Arlington, and this mom brought 24 chocolate chip cookies, homemade baked. Says, Chris, here's some cookies for you. I go, God bless you. What number is your son? He goes, he's a right guard, 54. Probably would not mention the right guard in a lot of my stories.
The whole story.
You got a few shout outs.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Of course he did. Well, before we get into the plateau problems, let me ask you, what you got the Mariners hat on right now.
Yeah.
The what stage of grief are you in? Are you still in a stage of grief?
I think today, Puck, honestly, it's gone back to where I was, where I want to throw up. And maybe that was the Moscow Mules last night. I had too many of those.
Yeah, you can't overserve yourself on those, sir.
MC'd an event last night, Alaska Symphony of Seafood. It was for It was for basically it's bringing seafood to low income families. Great event. Okay. We raised a lot of money, but a lot of wine, a lot of Moscow Mules. So we had a lot of fun. But I'm trying to get to the point here of where I was going.
What stage of grief are you in?
Thank you.
Not stage of hungover from Moscow Mules.
Thank you for figuring out where I'm at here today, Puck.
I'm here for you.
I woke up and here we go. the rains are coming. There's no end in sight on the range. You look at that stupid 7-day forecast. It's rains. Game 1 is tonight. And I think I'm back to just being sick to my stomach. Like it was just I drove by on the way home to Puyallup by Lumen Field and T-Mobile Park, and it looked like a ghost town down there. My wife said, "God, this is kind of sad." And I said, "Yeah, this is sad because this place should be buzzing." I understand they would have been on the road, but it still would have been people would have been coming down there with their Mariners gear on and game 1. And yeah, and then I listened to the Poto talk, to the media, and it's fine, but I'm back to being sick to my stomach. I mean, I was pissed, I was sick to my stomach, I was okay. Now I'm pissed and sick to my stomach again.
You know what? I
don't know.
found myself not knowing the last few days what to do at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no game on it. It's not just the playoffs, but it's all, the regular season. It's every night. That's the best thing about baseball. They always have some type of programming on. So for the last 7-8 months, this household, like many households out there, has the Mariners game on.
Well, and you mentioned your household. I don't know about you, but yeah, sure. My son and I have a good, when it comes to baseball, we talk all season long. He asks questions during spring training. But the last month, my wife, big sports fan, loves the Mariners. But the last month, she's like, "How's Bryce Miller looking? Is Brian?" Like people were like, really, like every word I say, they're just hanging on. Why is Cole Young not on? Why is he on the taxi squad? I mean, I'm like, huh? So it was a fun. I'll say this: it was an incredible ride. None of us wanted it to end. We want that ride to begin again soon, but baseball is such a long season. There's no guarantee we'll ever get back to that spot. But that's sports as well. So, but yeah, I think I'm a little depressed, and maybe it's the rains again. Here we go. It's just weather stinks right now, and
I don't care how long you've lived here.
Yeah.
What starts today on October 24th, that will last until May.
Yep.
April this is the deep, dark depression period. You never get used to it.
And you said it, Buck. I hate it when people say, "Well, I've lived here, I'm used to it." But you know what? Man. It's not. People say put your toes in the grass. That little, like, I don't know what it is, but everybody get your toes out and get with nature. Yeah, when I go out now, when the rain started happening, I put my toes in the grass. I get a bunch of mud up my toes, some moss up my toes, and if I'm lucky, I'll get a nice big fat slug going through my toe as well. So
now, Chris, do away with that mud and those slugs if you visit my friends at syntheticturfnorthwest.com. Because the thing that I've realized now with my brand new synthetic turf lawn in my backyard, especially when we get into these rainy months, is I don't have to deal with the mud anymore. I don't have to deal with slugs. My dogs like it. They go outside. They don't track mud in the house. You ask why? Well, I'll tell you why. Synthetic Turf Northwest, syntheticturfnorthwest.com.
And Puck, I'll ask you this question to set you up even more. In Puyallup, I believe the first person that had a turf backyard and front yard was Dane Looker, who played in the NFL. Of course. And then I'm thinking, the farthest I got with my football crew was 8th grade at Edgemont Junior High. So can somebody like me afford turf, Puck?
You can. They have plans for everyone out there, including the less, and unfortunate, like Chris Egan. They'll take care of you. What's I'm going to get to Skyline here in a quick second.
How are you? How are you doing? I feel bad. You asked me about my grief, and then you know what? You need to ask back. How are you doing?
I'm just, I'm bummed. I'm just bummed because I think with baseball, and I think with any sport, these opportunities, I think what was so emotional from Jerry DePoto and Justin Hollander, when they spoke to the media was, I think they get it. Mm-hmm. And I think there's some fans out there who don't quite understand it. I've heard this comparison to the 2012 Seahawks. First of all, I really despise when people compare these two sports.
They're just different.
They're different. So different, and they're not remotely the same. So please stop comparing this to the 2012 Seahawks. Please stop. You don't get these moments back.
No.
And it's not a given that they'll be back next year. Baseball is so long. It's such a long draining sport, and injuries and weird things happen that eliminates you before you even get to the postseason. And what we talked about, well, all they need to do is get in the postseason because with this pitching staff, well, they got in. And guess what happened? The pitching staff ultimately let them down.
Yeah, and they barely got by Detroit.
Barely got. See, that's another thing that people don't realize. They were lucky to get by Detroit.
Yeah.
So I just think that there's so much potential change on this team from this year to next year. We talk about Naylor and Polanco and Suarez. There'll be new faces. And then, you got another year wear and tear on arms. It's just they don't come around that often, these moments to where you can get to a World Series, potentially win it. I think this slipped through their fingers. It's unfortunate. And it stinks. It just really does, because I don't know what ownership will do next year. Will they see this and go, all right, now we're going to go even more in that we definitely need Josh Naylor. And you know what? Damn it. We're not going to let a price tag stop us. He wants $100 million. No, he doesn't want $100 million. He wants 115, whatever it is. We'll beat it. Josh, we're going to beat whatever price that you get back. Now, ultimately, maybe you want to go play someplace else, but if it's money, we're going to beat anybody. You just tell us. Tell us what that offer is and bring them back. And then whatever they want to do with Polanco and move forward with that. But
I would hope, Puck, too, that they would sit there, and I'm sure there's the bean counter of the Mariners is like, wow, we did pretty good. I mean, come on, Puck. You look over there every game, those last 2 months. I mean, that place was, it had to be a very nice year there.
Wouldn't you like to know how much money they raked in from the ALDS and ALCS and these watch parties that they put on?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, come on.
I don't want to hear about any money issues.
No, and then you keep adding, food items on. That's usually a sign that things are going well. We got here's caviar and crab legs. Well, that must be a sign things are going pretty well. Puck, quick question for you, because I didn't know how to answer this one. Because my wife, we were driving by T-Mobile and it looked like a ghost town, and we were depressed together with the rain pouring. She goes, "Who are you rooting for?" And I said, "Well, that's an interesting question." I said, I'm not a big fan of the high money Dodgers. Now, I am a fan of Blake Snell. He's a local kid, pitched at Shorewood, helped on the basketball team. His dad, Dave, is, up at Shoreline Community College, Seattle Select. So, I like the local kids doing well. I don't know. Do I want to see them sweep the Blue Jays to make me feel better that we didn't get in there, or do I want to see the Blue Jays win since I'm honestly right now, I don't have an answer for you. I guess I'm rooting for Blake Snell tonight. And that's all I can say at this moment.
I am not one of these people that despise the big money teams and the Dodgers. I find the Dodgers very likable, actually. Blake Snell is an incredible pitcher. The fact that he's from here really doesn't matter to me, other than he's fun to watch pitch. Yeah. Yamamoto's fun to watch pitch. Tyler Glasnow. Listen, I get to sit here. We all get to sit here and watch. I think we're living in a moment where we are watching the greatest baseball player to ever put on cleats, ever. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it will. In my lifetime, in our lifetime, I don't think we'll ever see someone better than him. Yeah. And so I like to watch greatness. So, I want to watch Shohei Ohtani and in that group win another one. Probably that's where my rooting interest is going to go. You always go into a game or any type of series matchup having, pulling for one team over the other. And then for the Blue Jays, no, I don't want to see them win. They're the team that knocked out. They're the team that knocked out the Mariners. So I don't want to see them win. I don't want to see that manager win. And I despise them. I despise the Blue Jays with every fiber in me.
That helps me make my selection very clear. Then, thank you. I needed a little something this morning to get me through the hangover and the rain, and you did it.
And when I went to Dodger Stadium, we sat up in the 300 level, and they have got the greatest 300 or like 32-ounce micheladas that you've ever had.
Micheladas. Oh, wow.
Who doesn't like a michelada? Let's transition from michelada to drama on the plateau.
I call it the Chateau on the Plateau.
Chateau on the Plateau.
I trademarked that about 15 years ago.
Well, you've nailed it. Well, for people who don't know the story, and I'll try to do the Cliff Notes version as quickly as I can, and you fill in the blanks if I miss something. Peyton Pelluer is the head football coach at Skyline High School. He was, of course, a star there, went on to Washington State, then went and coached college football. He came back to coach his alma mater. This is his second year. He is then has the help of alums all over the place from Skyline, Cason Williams, Gino Simone, to name a few who have come back to coach. They're off to a great start this year. They're 5-2. They're one of the surprises in the state of Washington. And they last week, he was not allowed to coach against Woodinville. No one knew what was happening. People started to speculate quickly what is going on.
Got word that day. Word that day
as he's going on the bus, was pulled off the bus. They know you can't. You've been suspended. What came out of it was a parent and a group of parents, mainly of seniors, who complained, and their biggest complaint seems to be, by what we have seen with the reporting, is playing time. Upset about playing time for certain seniors. And it seems to be coming down to playing time for a senior quarterback who has been beat out by a sophomore quarterback who transferred in from the state of Texas because his father took a job at the University of Washington.
And you could go back, Puck. You could go back to if you're listening, you can go back and search on YouTube King 5 Big Game Skyline versus Issaquah. You can listen to the entire broadcast, Puck and I, and we knew, this was not going on then, but during the broadcast, you will hear Puck and myself talking about this sophomore quarterback, how he was very impressive to us. And that was the first time you and I had ever seen this young man, very unbiased broadcasting going on that night. So if you could feel free to watch it, see what this sophomore quarterback was doing. And I just wanted to
for just context with Odom, it's Ben Odom, I believe is his name.
Yeah.
The context, just some context. He's the number 1 quarterback in the conference, by the way. They're off to a great start. They have a great shot to win a state title. Now, you and I knew nothing about what was happening at the time of Issaquah. Now, I've been told by people that this had been going on for a very long time. This has been a season-long thing. This has not been in the last few weeks, that there had been issues, and this group of parents have been trying this all season long. When we sat down and watched that game, and it was a great game, both teams played great. You and I both had commented, this kid is amazing. Like,
he's got some potential. Yeah, he looked good.
It's incredible that he's a sophomore and he's this good. Let's put that aside just for a second. I mean, the storyline, it seems to be, is this, Chris. A sophomore beat out a senior. A parent and a group of parents were upset that the senior is not the starter. So they filed a complaint to the school, and then the school district, who ultimately said, okay, we'll look into it over playing time issues, and suspended Coach Peyton Pelluer for a few days. The assistant coaches, all former players there, said, we're not going to coach if he's not back. The investigation, whatever you want to call it, lasted a few days, and then he was reinstated on his job. But so the core of this thing, Chris, is you and I have talked about youth sports all the time. Seems like we've got some upset parents about playing time who decided then to take their grievances to the school and school district and had a coach suspended over playing time.
Puck, let's start right here, and I want to be very clear because Skyline's getting a lot of heat for this right now, and the parents up there. There's always 3 sides to every story, and we're hearing a lot of one side. But I want to be very clear to everybody that's listening, watching this right now. This is not new. This has been going on for the past 2 decades all across the United States and in the state of Washington. Parents complaining, getting in there. I've seen this happen at several high schools where good coaches have been pushed out, have had to resign, have been forced out because of parents. And it stinks. It smells. It's ugly. And Puck, I've seen parents moving their kids around to find places that they will play instead of go fight for a spot. No, we're going to transfer you here because we think you're going to start there. You also have to deal with this. High schools across the state of Washington, they need these to survive, that being booster clubs. There is a problem with booster clubs. Sometimes you get parents in there of these booster clubs that say, maybe, hey, I spent $50,000 on the auction. My kid probably should play because I spent more on the auction than this kid. Right. This kid's, I'm funding. So that is a problem as well. And that one's going to be hard that one's going to be hard to talk about because a lot of these programs need these booster clubs to fund trips, to fund things, and so that is a sticky slope right there. But Puck, we go back to Skyline, and a lot of people want to point fingers to them. I'm actually applauding the coaches at Skyline because in a lot of schools, Pelluer would have been gone. He would have been gone. He would not have been coaching this week. But the assistant coaches said, you know what? This ain't happening. He never actually even went on social media, but he has a nice platform of friends around him that that got the word out and said, this is wrong. And so in the end, Skyline probably had to do a move like, okay, we better do this. We've got to, and I don't know. I'm not an athletic director. I'm not a principal. They made a move that night. Let's play it safe. But in the end, he is now coaching again. I really feel for the senior, the young man here. I mean, it's probably got to be tough to be at that high school right now for them.
Oh,
but I'm not going to go after them. I just want to go after parents out there that you may have younger kids. It's just like you just I don't know. It's a sick story, but it's not. This isn't the last time we're going to hear something like this.
Of course not. And I agree with you in terms of, and I think I said this, the other day on social media, that I don't know how I would have handled the one player in question that seems to be the focus of this, the senior quarterback, because this kid's 17, 18 years old. I don't know what kind of influence, what he's hearing from outside. To me, this is a parent issue, number one.
Yeah.
That I don't want to strip away what his senior season would be. But he would have to acknowledge that what's going on is wrong. But I would certainly punish the parents. See, I am firm in this one. And I would hope
I'm with
the
you on
school
this.
would do this.
Yeah.
Whoever these parents were, and they know who they are because they all signed this letter. Whoever these parents were, I'm telling you, Chris, and I'm not exaggerating, and people are going to be like, wow, this is crazy. There is part of me that is much more upset about this story than the Mariners not winning Game 7. And I know.
And Puck, I would love these parents. I would love these parents, Puck, to come on a platform and explain, okay, Skyline's 5-2. You're having your best season ever. Do you really think your kid is better than this kid? I mean, what's the story here? If that's it, then seriously,
it's what you said, though, and I think that's the problem with schools like this that have these booster clubs. Theirs is called the quarterback club, and the problem is with these clubs these booster clubs. They raise money. It's for the football team. It goes to the coaches. This is Friday Night Lights, Buddy Garrity. I mean, this is what it is.
This happens everywhere. This happens at different levels all across the state.
Parents feel that they spend a certain amount of money and influence that they believe then that money that they spend garners playing time. And when they don't realize there has to be a separation of, you can give to the football program. That's great. But this does not mean we're going to elevate your kid over another kid. Now, I think this has happened more often than not in other programs. I guarantee that some kid has played over another kid because daddy and mommy gave money. I get it. But what I applaud, at least this coaching staff and Peyton Pelluer, is like, yeah, I'm glad you gave all this money, but this kid is better. He's just better. And I think that's why we love sports. Is because and there's a cold, hard reality, and it's good for all kids to learn this. Listen, the best kids are going to play. And that doesn't mean that you're bad. That doesn't mean that you can't contribute to the football team. That doesn't mean, or to any team. You can have a role, figure out what your role is. And what I would say to this young man and his parents, what if you're on a great run right now? And because of your actions, you've spoiled this for many in this community. What happens if the young man, the young sophomore quarterback, gets injured? Guess what? Next man up. You're ready to go.
Yeah.
Imagine if Jalen Hurts, we go back to Alabama, when he gets beat out by Tua Tagovailoa, he sulks and says, you know what? This ain't right. I was the starter. I should have been the starter. you know what? You went with Tua. I'm out. I quit because I want a chance to play, and I felt I was robbed. He didn't do that.
No.
He took his medicine. Said, all right. Now he ends up transferring later, but he takes his medicine, stays there. Guess what he does? He comes in and helps them win because Tua gets hurt. And lessons that
this may be the ultimate. Yeah, no, you're 100% right. This may be the ultimate. Is guess whose parents weren't booster club members at a high school in North Carolina? Michael Jordan. So when Michael Jordan gets cut, you think mom and dad said, "Oh, we're going to find a new high school," or "No, we're going to go after the school." No, go in the backyard and shoot more. You work harder. You get better, and that's the story. And that's what's being robbed on this. His parents are just like they're becoming too much of their best friends of their kids and want them to, and they're like, "Oh, coach is wrong. Coach is wrong. It's coach is wrong. We need, we'll find the right place for you." Instead of telling the kid, "Hey, listen, I know it's," and I would say this to the young man.
I think it's got to be extremely hard. And I am, is it sympathetic or empathetic? I think it's sympathetic. To his situation, he's a senior, battled probably some injuries, thought this was his year to be the starting quarterback. And they got a lot of seniors that are very good, and they've grown up together and all of that. And then here comes a kid that moves in from out of state, has no relations with any of these kids, beats him out. I think if I put myself in that position, it would be hard. If I put myself in the father's position, if that were my son, that would be hard. But I just know in the core of me, I would sit down with my kid, son or daughter, and go, okay, fine. This is what happens. This is life. You get beat out. That doesn't mean that you quit. You find a role on this team and you do your best. You do your best to get that kid prepared each week. Go to the coaches. Hey, I'm still the backup here, but can I help out somewhere else? Can I help out on special teams? Can I help out on defense? What can I do to help this football team right now? Not quitting and not complaining to your parents and trying to get a coach fired. It is one of the, I said this to Milles, of all the drama that's happened in this state with programs around this area, to me, this is one of the worst things I've ever seen in high school sports. Awful.
And sadly, Puck, this has happened 20 or more times, and you've just not heard about it because quietly the coach has been dismissed. And I'm going to go back. I wasn't even going to go here. And we talked about decisions you make in your life, and you kind of had me flash back. I was a starter on Puyallup High School's basketball team my junior year. We had a young man come in from Colorado, Brandon Bakke. We're friends to this day. He's an incredible man. He played at Fresno State, very good player. We had a youngster by the name of Chris Mosley coming up, went on, played college basketball. I lost my starting spot, didn't play for 5 games in a row. And there was that moment where you're like, God, everybody's against me. It's, you think that. And I'm a senior. This was my big year, and I contemplated quitting. And I still remember my mom and dad like, you know what? Get in the backyard. Your free throw shooting's awful. Get better. They didn't. No, I mean, they said it how it was, and what's also hard to do, Puck, as a young man, young woman, is to go to your coach. And I remember after practice one day going to my coach and saying, "Coach, I want to get back on the court. What can I do?" And he said, "I need you to be more of a role player. I need you to rebound. I need you to pass. I mean, you're not the scorer on this team." And sometimes we hear things that we don't want to hear, but thank God I never quit. When I look back, because we won the West Central District Championship. We went to state. I'm friends with everybody still on that team. I had a big role on the team. I earned my starting spot back. And it's just like, it's so easy to quit. It's so easy to blame somebody else. But to the parents out there, I think back to Ed and Barb Egan, like, no, you know what? Go earn it. Go talk to your coach. Do the hard things. And so that's all I think we need to pass on. I think but it is sad too. And I do want to say this, just because you write a check, whether you're at Bellevue, whether you're at Arlington, whether you're at Anacortes, and you decide you go to an auction and I'm getting the trip 7-day Holland cruise and we're spending $15,000. That does not guarantee anything except you are supporting your school, not your kid. You're supporting the school. So please, when you sit there and you raise your paddle, please take anything out of your mind that this is going to benefit my kid. Because if you do that, That's already a negative you're putting on the program, and you're not helping the program.
Well said. You are the dean of high school sports and coverage in this state, in this area. You've got the hated, I say this as a Kent Ridge Charger alum, the hated Kentwood Conquerors tonight in Tahoma, the King 5 big game of the week.
Battle for second place, Puck, in the NPSL North. You got two teams that are 4-1 in league play, a couple good quarterbacks. And really, when you talk about historic venues in the state of Washington, you got to throw out French Field. And we're going to be way up top. And Puck, now that we're getting closer, I think next week I want to invite you to which I think is my number one. My number one, and I want you to come. It's a journey, though, but I want to invite you at least. You're my first invite next week, as we will be heading to Pete's Pool in Enumclaw, the battle for the bridge, White River, crossing the bridge, which just has opened up for the battle for the bridge. It's Hornets versus Hornets, maroon and
Halloween?
yellow.
It's Halloween next week.
It is Halloween night. Well, we can push to another game, but I want to at least extend that invite out to you. I'll be coming out on a hog trailer.
I want to do that.
I know. It's so Halloween in Enumclaw. I'll tell you what, that's a party right there.
Are you going to dress up?
Well, of course I'm going to dress up. I'm going to dress up as a Hornet. Will I be a White River Hornet or an Enumclaw Hornet? You'll have to find out.
You are the best. Thank you, Chris Egan. Appreciate the visits on Fridays, as always, and we'll see you next Friday.
Hey, but can I give you my last fun Kentwood fact here? I'm doing a live shot, and some new kid comes in from LA. He's working at Cairo, and he's right next to me. And I think we're dueling big game live shots. And I don't know how he came up with this, but also he goes, and here they come on the field, the Kentwood Conquistadors. Nice. So I politely told him they're the conquerors, not the conquistadors. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, we are KR. All right. You're the best. See you next week.
All right, buddy. Be good.
There he is, Chris Egan, King 5 with us every single Friday. His weekly appearance brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. Visit them at flatstickpub.com. All right. Just because the go-to guy isn't here, that doesn't mean we're not going to talk to our handicapper, the Puck Sports handicapper. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Troy Wins from TroyWins.com. Hello, Troy. How are you on this rainy Friday?
Doing good, Puck. How are you? And you know what, man? I'll tell you that topic, you and I will have to grab some beers and talk on that one. That Skyline thing had me boiling all week long. Holy smokes.
It's just the worst of the worst when it comes to high school sports, and it's too bad. We see it too often, and it's unfortunate. All right. Let's get to our college games, and then we'll get to some NFL, and then we'll do your lock of the week. Let's start. It should be a great game in college football. Johnny Mateer is back. I think it's his second game following his hand surgery. Ole Miss going into Norman. Lane Kiffin getting 5.5 against the Sooners. Who do you like?
I'm taking the points here. Lane Kiffin, who would have thought this defense from Ole Miss has been outstanding? Obviously struggled a little bit last week against Georgia, but this Lane Kiffin team's legit. I think they go in. I think this is a dogfight of a football game. I really do. Oklahoma's defense has been awesome this year as well. Mateers hasn't looked as good this last couple games. I'll take Ole Miss in a close one, 24-21. I think ultimately Oklahoma wins this one, but I'll take 5 and a hook.
Okay, I like it. The Huskies, they're back at home after last week's loss to Michigan, taking on a very good Illinois team that is ranked, but Washington favored at home against the Fighting Illini by 4.5. Who do you like?
It feels like a must win for Jed Fish, man. People are really starting to want to push him out the door a little bit. He needs this one in a bad way. I think he gets it. Tough travel game for Illinois. They haven't been great on the road. You saw what they did against Indiana earlier this year on the road, and then obviously they've lost to Ohio State. But I just think this is a must-win game for Washington. It's going to be close. I don't think they run away with it. 31-24, I'll take the Huskies.
Okay. The Cougs, America's team, is, of course, we've branded them for many, many years. They're back home after traveling all across the state or across the country. They're taking on Toledo. It's a pretty good Toledo football team, and the line's not much. It's just 1.5 as the Cougars take on Toledo on Saturday.
This was a shocking line. I mean, you look at the way the Cougars have played the last couple of weeks. Are they going to come back home and just, I hate to say it, lay an egg at home? If they play like anywhere like they did the last couple of weeks, they win this game. I think they're going to be hungry for a win. I like the Cougs in a shootout, 35-32. I'll take the Cougs.
All right, there we go, America's team. Texas A&M on the road, favored by 2.5. Who do you against Iowa State, right?
Yes, no. Texas A&M has got
who am I? LSU.
LSU. They're in Death Valley. I like I like Texas A&M. Texas A&M, man, what a story! They have been fantastic all year. They play on both sides of the football. LSU's missing some key guys on defense right now, and I think that's why they lost last week to Vanderbilt. I'll take Texas A&M. They remain undefeated. They move on to go 8-0. Give me Texas A&M minus the points.
Let's go over to the NFL. Your Dallas Cowboys are on the road taking on the Denver Broncos at Mile High. If people don't know, the Broncos are wearing their throwback uniforms, which are just magnifique. They've changed the field, the whole thing. The Orange Crush is back. I don't know. I mean, I despise them with every fiber in me, but I don't know why they don't go to these uniforms full time. Cowboys, Dak Prescott playing better. Who do you like? They're getting 3.5 on the road.
I'm going to take the hot hand. Denver, boy, they squeaked by last week, 33-point fourth quarter to take down the Giants. They won't be able to play like that again this week. It's going to be close, but I think Dallas right now, you've got to ride that hot hand. They looked so good last week against the Commanders. That offense has been lethal. I'll take the Cowboys in a close one, 31-28.
Okay, you're on a roll here with your locks. You had Oregon last week over Rutgers. You got that one 4-3 on your locks. This week, what's your Troy wins lock of the week?
I actually love this game. Deion Sanders, I typically don't like to back him, but, he's coming off the big win at home against Iowa State. And then he gets a bye week. They go into Utah. I don't think they're going to win the game, but they go into Utah. Utah coming off the loss against BYU. Give me Colorado 13 and a hook. That's a lot of points. For those of you out there that are listening, I would buy a point here, get it up to 14 and a hook. But I'll take Colorado plus 13 and a half as my lock of the week. They keep this one close.
I like it. So no go-to guy, so we can't get his lock. He lost last week. He's now 2-3. Because he went with the Huskies. They lost to Michigan. I took the Giants. I have no idea why I took the Giants last week, but they covered. They should have won the game, but they covered the 7.5 against the Denver Broncos. I'm going to take the 49ers on the road at Houston plus 2.5. Kyle Shanahan's done an amazing job of coaching this team despite all the injuries. I'll ride here with the 49ers getting 2.5 at Houston. All right, before you go, advise people. They go to TroyWins.com. What do they get?
Guys, we're on. I'm not joking, Puck. We are on fire. A historic run right now. Get to the website, TroyWins.com. $100 gets you 30 days. And Monday, it's going to be a fun day, guys. Monday is the sports equinox. If you get to my Instagram, we're going to do a 14 parlay. That's going to cover all 4 major sports. And if we hit that parlay, if you're following us on Instagram and you like or comment on that post, we're going to give out all sorts of prizes if we hit that 14 parlay. But that's one of the best days of the year, October 28th, Monday, sports equinox. It's TroyWins.com. It's Troy West on Instagram, guys.
Perfect. Thank you, Troy. Always love having you on every Friday. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too, Puck. Thank you.
Again, our handicapper, it's TroyWins.com. And again, his lock of the week, taking the Colorado Buffaloes plus 13.5 at Utah. Likes Ole Miss at Oklahoma. Likes Washington at home against Illinois. The Cougs at home against Toledo. Texas A&M on the road against LSU. And likes the Cowboys plus 3.5 on the road against the Denver Broncos. All right, our Friday football tailgate show now starts. We talk Friday Night Lights with Todd Milles from VarsityWaNews.com. And then after that, we catch up with Bob Condotta, the last word on the Seattle Seahawks from the Seattle Times beat reporter on all things Seahawks. Great sponsors present you with both Flat Stick Pub for Friday Night Lights and Georgetown Brewery for the last word with Bob Condotta. If it's fun you desire, it's fun you're going to get at Flat Stick Pub. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, whether it's date night, guys night, ladies night, or large group event, Flat Stick Pub's got you covered. They have 6 great locations across the Pacific Northwest, from Pioneer Square to Kirkland, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. All locations offer the best pub experience in Washington. 2 rules at Flat Stick Pub: drink local and have fun. Pretty simple. So if you like to have fun, love local beer, and great tasting food, make Flat Stick Pub your next spot. Visit them at flatstickpub.com.
Jones right up the middle, touchdown, Eastside Catholic. Rolling out is Cobb. Now he goes back. Oh, it's intercepted.
Oh, my goodness. And it,
on the way.
Fast.
Jason Wilson could go. Yes. Touchdown, Irish. Rolling to the near side.
He's keeping it. He's in.
And he's in for the touchdown. Leo.
9, 8, 7, Moser. Has to go. 2 seconds. He puts it forward.
It's that time. It's Friday Night Lights, and here he is, Todd Milles from VarsityWaNews.com. It joins us every single Friday here on the Daily Puck Drop and Puck Sports to get you ready for all the high school football action Friday night across our state of Washington. How are you, sir? Season's winding down. You keeping up? You okay? You still with us?
Well, considering that we have one of those atmospheric river things coming tonight, so we're really into fall football now. It just happened to hit week 8, man. So I'm trying to figure out a way to, the best way to keep my notepad and cameras dry tonight when I'm down in Tumwater for a week 8 show down there.
Yeah, just get, you got to get one of those things. I just saw it last week from one of the parents. And I know they've been around forever. I think it started probably with soccer parents. Have you seen those little like igloos they now bring to the games and they put it around their chair?
I imagine
it's like a bubble boy, back in the day, Travolta.
Yeah. I can imagine somebody videotaping me doing that, walking around with that. I mean, it would keep me dry, but I'd look like an idiot doing it.
Yeah, but you'd be dry, Todd, and that's all that matters.
I would.
Todd Milles with us, Varsity Nights. He's with us as Friday Night Lights. I said Varsity Nights, but Friday Night Lights. And of course, you can catch all of Todd's work at VarsityWaNews.com. You can follow him on social media personally at Mini Hats Milles, but his new venture, VarsityWaNews.com, at Varsity Wa News. And also check out their YouTube page and podcast platforms, wherever you find your podcast, Varsity Wa News. They recap it during the week, and you caught up on all the top storylines. Also, they do a Friday night recap show every single late Friday night, early Saturday morning, getting you all the reaction from all the Friday night games. All right, let's start with the games of the week. Then we obviously got other storylines to talk about. Certainly, one of the biggest storylines in the state is what has transpired at Skyline High School. We'll get to that in a second. Games of the week. Let's start first with the game that Chris Egan will be at, the King 5 big game of the week, Kentwood and Tahoma. I always like to point out, now I'm being sarcastic here, they're not really in Kent, they're really in Covington. So it should be Covington High School against Tahoma. But the Conkers take it on the Tahoma Bears. What do you got?
The winner is likely the 4A NPSL runner-up to Kennedy Catholic. Pretty good chance to host a home playoff game in the round of 32. And I think we've all sort of been waiting for this from Tahoma since Zach Myers took over as the coach in 2022. It's one of the biggest schools in the state. They're all sophomore backfield. Brady Bonnell and Avery Cabral have been fantastic. Bonnell, you probably recognize that name, Go Cougs. Has been a fantastic dual threat quarterback. This is a team that has a win over Skyline, so that's a pretty big win early on. And so I expect them to take care of business tonight. But I call them the cardiac conks, Jason. I mean, it's good to see Kentwood back after a couple down years under Quincy Davison Jr. In his first season. They were down 30 points late in the first half last week against Auburn, and Brandon Taglia, the quarterback, who's a really good point guard prospect, a senior, brought him back. They found a way to win in overtime. They have a close win over Stadium. So it's nice to see them kind of, they're not the Kentwood of when we grew up, knocking on the door for state championships, but at least they seem to be back on the trail to getting in the playoffs and maybe doing some damage. Ezra Moali's a bruiser running back. So this is a great matchup just for if you're into kind of the yesteryear. These two teams always knocking on the door in the playoffs. It's nice to see them back and kind of contending for high seeds. And I expect this to be a great game. Chris Egan's I know he kind of texted me and said, "Hey, which game should I be at?" And I said, "Go to Kentwood, man. They're coming off some big wins. They're exciting. There could be 60, 70 points scored in this game, but two good quarterbacks. Don't miss it tonight if you're up there in South King County.
As a Kent Ridge Charger and a proud alum who battled with the Kentwood Conquerors for many years, go Tahoma. So go Bears. Pull it off tonight. Come on, the Fighting Furnaces. We got a good game in the Metro. We got Eastside Catholic and Rainier Beach, both 6-1. What do you expect to see in that game tonight?
Lots of offense, and the winner here will be the 3A Metro number 2 seed. I think both of these teams are going to get a home playoff game in the round of 32. We have both of them squarely in our top 10. Rainier Beach is a lot of fun, Jason. I got a chance to see them the night that Monty Kohler at O'Day clinched the all-time coaching record from Sid Otten. But this offense is man, it's scary with all their athletes. Esquire Williams he just throws it as far as he can. He's got the receivers to go get it. He's got Sir Jewel Glover, Tech Mwamba, Zay Watkins, Marquise Ilmanis at tight end. I mean, a bunch of guys that can go make plays. But maybe the piece that's kind of brought this all together is Damari King, who started at Rainier Beach. He was at Roosevelt last year as the starting running back. He's back, and he's been cleared. I think this is his third game eligible. A bruiser running back. He's a great linebacker. Beach, I mean, if you look at Beach's 22 starters, they can match up with anybody, Jason. It's just you can't lose guys with this team. The problem that they've always sort of faced is they just don't have the numbers of other 3A schools. So, if one of their linemen or one of their playmakers goes out there, there's a significant drop-off. But Eastside Catholic's no slouch offensively, too. They got, Nick Jones and Caden Peely, who's the reigning Alaska Gatorade State Player of the Year, who's I think sister is in the WNBA. They've been a really good 1-2 running back duo. Lucas Villasenor has been adequate. I mean, he's got enough arm talent to kind of push the ball down the field and keep Titan McNeil and Asa Thompson and Robert Ingram, well in play. All three of those guys have had good years. What I like in this game and sort of the difference is Eastside Catholic's consistency on defense. They've made a living in their front seven. Wasi Lugalobi has not gone anywhere. He's the best defensive player in the state. I think they get enough stops to win tonight in West Seattle, but man, it would not surprise me if we, 10 o'clock tonight, we saw 38-31 or something along those lines. But I think Eastside finds a way and prevails.
All right, the game that you're going to be at tonight should be a great one. WF West 6-1 on the season, taking on Tumwater, who is also 6-1. As you noted at VarsityWaNews.com, T-Birds open up the season with a loss to Puyallup, but since then, Todd, they've been rolling.
Yeah, the face has changed, Jason, but the success doesn't, man. They just use the rotation of ball carriers. It seems like 6 or 7 different guys score touchdowns a night in that wing T. But there are 2 guys, are Peyton Davis and Tyler Briscoe. In important games, they're going to get the bulk of the work. Jackson Budd is a returning quarterback. He gives them enough of a passing game semblance to keep defenses honest. And this really talented class of juniors is really starting to develop. If you ask Tumwater, they feel like they're one of the few teams in the state that can match up with Archbishop Murphy physically. And, why not? They beat the Wildcats last year pretty convincingly in the state semifinals. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but they believe that. WF West is interesting because they lost 16 of their 22 starters from a team that also went to the state semifinals. Danny Hill's done a fantastic job down there. They've got a quarterback in Wyatt Hoffman in his first year who is close to 2,000 yards, and Connor Coleman is scary enough on the outside to do some damage. I just don't see how WF West can match up with the Thunderbirds, up front. But this is the rivalry game in the 2A Evergreen. These two teams seemingly meet for the championship every year, and it's no different this year.
And I'm going to say Tumwater, best uniforms in the state.
Yeah, it's fun.
You got to do something on the website about that, but my vote would be for the T-Birds. God, I love those.
It's interesting because we did a kind of a anonymous coaches poll at the beginning of the year, and it's funny. I said that the best uniforms and helmets in the state, and the 2 that kept coming up the most were the one you just said, Tumwater, and the other one being Richland over in Eastern Washington.
Yeah, Richland's a great one. Yeah, don't they have is it a bomb? Is it a smoke? Is it?
Yes.
That's right. That's a good one. And I like, is it Mount Tahoma? Mount Tahoma's got good ones too.
Yeah, the two city schools, both Mount Palma and Lincoln, have cool uniforms and really kind of upgraded their look. So yeah.
All right. Well, let's transit these types of stories. This story that has come out of Skyline High School. This is the stuff that we don't like to talk about. It's the unfortunate side of athletics. It's certainly the unfortunate side of high school athletics and youth sports, because what does it involve? The worst thing that you can have in youth sports, high school sports, is parent interaction and parent infiltration of the team and coaches and say over what's going on. You give us the latest for people who are unaware of the Skyline story. Let's just start there, because there's probably maybe a few people that are watching and listening right now, and Todd, they have no idea what we're talking about. Yeah. Set the scene. What happened last week with Peyton Pelluer, the head coach of Skyline High School, and kind of take it from there and where we're at right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was in the Tri-Cities last week, Jason, and standing next to Matt Evans, who does a great job with his computer rankings, and he looks at me and he goes, "Peyton Pelluer got yanked off the bus. He's not coaching their game against Woodinville." So I'm like, oh my gosh, what? So got back to the area and started making calls with some pretty knowledgeable sources up on the plateau. I know you have some too, and the three sources I talked to said did nothing wrong. It wasn't bullying. It wasn't anything emotional. It wasn't anything physical. It was just basically a group of parents who kind of saw the writing on the wall with their kids. Skyline starts 9 sophomores. They just were unhappy with the playing time that their sons were getting as seniors and juniors, and had filed a complaint. The complaint was filed well before the Woodinville game last Friday. So, I mean, assistant coaches were being interviewed by district officials during the week leading up to the game. I think what really kind of got this thing going in the right direction was two things. The assistant coaches, all Skyline alums, led by Gino Simone. He was kind of the voice. Basically, they met Sunday and said, "What are we going to do here? I mean, our guy is on suspension. What do we do?" And for them to be solid in saying, "Hey, we're not coaching. Find some other coaches." This is a team that's 5-2 and going to probably be the number 1 seed in 4A Kinko. I mean, that's the sad part of this is they're winning. And so the fact that they stepped forward and sent something to the administration, said, "Hey, we're out if you don't meet these demands and reinstate our coach." And then the other thing is this thing got national coverage immediately. Yeah, I mean, right. I guess maybe the offending parties maybe didn't realize that Peyton Pelluer, like the Pelluer name, was like well known around the country. But when that started coming in, that investigation into Peyton was pretty short lived. He was reinstated, Tuesday afternoon, and right. And since then, there's been some shakeup in that booster club with some of the parents that were part of this, and it's, like you said, it's just a sad situation involving competition, and the results been in the proof's in the pudding. 9 sophomores, and they're 5-2, and going to be a pretty high seed in the state playoffs. We should be praising Peyton Pelluer. He's done a fantastic job. He was a dark horse candidate to be my state coach of the year, and he's had to deal with this.
Yeah. Do we know? Okay, so what the gist of it is, we have a parent and a group of parents upset about playing time for their mostly senior players. What I'd like to know, and I don't know if you've been able to find this out, or the school district has released anything, or the schools released anything. What was the actual complaint? Like, what was the complaint that even got him suspended? Because, Todd, if you're telling me it's just we're unhappy with the playing time, or we're unhappy that he didn't give so-and-so, Johnny and the fellas, a fair shot here, how does the AD, the principal of the school, and then the AD of the Issaquah School District take that seriously?
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty lengthy complaint that was filed with the district. Now, I truly believe that the people in building, their hands were tied. I think a lot of this was being dictated by the legal team of the district. But I've had that question a lot this week, Jason. Is it really about playing time? Well, when you take and you take things that with Peyton in his 18 months on the job, and you stretch the truth and the context of the truth, and you make, you try and make little arguments and little complaints, and the totality of it, I think the parents were hoping this was enough to kind of get him eliminated. It was sort of a poopy diaper wrapped in a bunch of poopy diapers, to be honest with you. It's just,
You think this was something that was happening all year?
well, I just think the gist of it was playing time, but they wrapped it up in other little things like, Peyton Pelluer did this over the summer, and taken out of context, but sort of logged as a complaint. So I think it was a lot of little things in this report that they had to investigate, when in actuality, the reality of it was it had everything to do with playing time. And I think the district finally realized there's not a lot here, and cleared his name. But yeah, there were a lot of things, I think, and we've made a FOIA request with the district, and hopefully we'll get to see that complaint and the specifics of it. But I have a sneaking suspicion, Jason, once I get this whatever 20-page report or whatever it is, I'm just going to shake my head and go, really? I mean, you're taking this and making a complaint out of it. And I think, like I said, when you can stretch the truth and the context to fit a narrative, you can pretty much make a complaint out of anything.
Right. That's the worst of the worst. This story has affected me in the past week more than a lot of stories, just because I'm connected with coaching and understand the dynamic between parents and players and coaches. And this is such a cardinal rule that these parents up there broke. You do not ever under any circumstances go to a coach and demand playing time. It is just, it's the worst example of these parents. And I don't know what example they're trying to set forth for their boys, because what's the example? Hey, if you don't like your outcome of whether it's sports or life, it's just, hey, make something up, complain, and see if you can get the person that made the decision fired or suspended to get what you want. It's just the absolute worst. I think it's great that the coaches stepped up and did what they did. The former teammates of Peyton Pelluer, Luke Falk writing a letter, all these great coaches that he has coached with over the years in college football, from Washington State to USC to Mississippi State, all having his back. And yeah, I think for that group of parents that thought they really were big deals up there on that club of theirs, thought that they could bully him like a legend in that high school out of a job, and that just completely backfired on them. All right, well, we'll check it out at Varsity Law News, and continue reporting on that. Also, check out all the game recaps from this weekend of high school football. Be sure to check out Todd's podcast later tonight. Comes out real late, early in the morning, recapping all the action tonight in Friday night action. Again, Varsity Law News. Check it out on your podcast platforms up there, also on YouTube. Thank you, Todd. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, Jason.
Drink Georgetown Tavern Beer, your new locally brewed domestic-style lager. 4.2% alcohol. Cheap, good, local.
You know that if you prepare well, your team is probably going to play well. You're not always going to win, but they're going to play hard, and they're going to go out there and give good performance. You can live with that.
Today we're going to talk about our next opponent.
And here we go. It is the last word with Bob Condotta of the Seattle Times. As one of the greatest, if not the greatest head coach in Seahawks history, Chuck Knox brings us in, as he does every single Friday. Before anyone reacts to the greatest head coach in Seahawks history, just understand that the 10-year-old thinks he is, all right? You can follow Bob on social media at @BCondotta. Of course, his weekly appearance talking all things Seahawks, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, makers of Manny's Pale Ale, Bodie's Offa, Rogers Pilsner, Georgetown's Tavern Beer, and their brand new tasting room and beer garden open daily from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Go visit georgetownbeer.com. Usually you and I sit here, and the very first question is injury report. Well, we're not going to talk injuries here. We have a game to react to on Monday. I'll be honest with you. I think many people had maybe one eye on it because it's Game 7 of the Mariners and the Blue Jays. But let's go back to Monday. For those maybe out there who didn't quite catch the game, at times, Bob, I thought they showed a real kind of championship level talent that you could see them playing late into the season. Other times, though, this old thing that has happened a few times this year, they're letting opponents kind of hang around rather than kind of finishing them off with that knockout punch. Is that kind of how you saw Monday night play out?
Yeah, definitely. At 14-0, I thought they're really just going to drill these guys and it's going to be a rout. And I actually, being a really early deadline story, like I had to have something done almost before the game ended. I had actually written something about how on the day the Mariners, lost, the Seahawks looked like they're a team that could make a really long run into the postseason. And maybe the Mariners aren't the end of Seattle fans being able to cheer a long postseason run this year. I still think that, but I softened my story a little bit because obviously the game got a little hairier there and it was hard to ignore the 4 turnovers and things like that. I still think defensively they played fine throughout that game. I know they gave up the late touchdown, but they kept getting put back out there. They made Houston at least take some, I think they played a little bit conservatively there to play to the lead and figuring they could then run the game out on offense, which they weren't going to be able to if Houston hadn't committed that penalty. But they did finally do that and get it done. There were some goofy things that happened, like the Cooper Kupp play. I mean, if they don't call that pass and he doesn't throw that, even if they kick the field goal there and it's 17-0, maybe it feels a little different because they probably just run away with it. Then the blocked field, there was the blocked field goal as well as the turnovers. So, and then I think they had 12 penalties. So, as McDonald said, at least it feels like it's all correctable stuff, and you still won the game in fairly dominant fashion, especially sort of in the statistical categories. And when you just look at what they've done overall, I think you still feel pretty good about it. But for sure, that game wasn't for the people who missed maybe the first, hey, it's 14-0, and you missed where they played well, and then you saw the rest of it. You might have thought, what are these guys doing, and how did they ever get the lead and all that?
Okay, so what's causing them not to just close these games out late? Because that's been kind of an issue for them. They've let several of these games kind of go down late into the fourth quarter, still very much in doubt. Now they've won the games, but they should be winning them more comfortably. What's leading to that?
Yeah, they have. I mean, obviously, if you go back to the Arizona game, they've kind of done this a little bit now, and luckily it didn't catch up to them there or either of the last two. I mean, one real simple answer is they need to run the ball better. I think if they felt like they could rely on their running game to really take some more time off the clock and just kind of go that route, which is what they want to be. That's totally what they want to be and do. And McDonald, I think it's part of the grand plan is we get the lead in these games. We play well on defense. We hit some big plays early in the passing game. We take the lead and then we shorten the game. And, there's only a few possessions left kind of thing. And so they're not as able to do that as they would like to. I think definitely against Jacksonville, that seemed to be the case. They kind of struggled with that. And a little bit, I guess, against Arizona as well. The Houston game was so weird. I mean, it was just kind of, a couple of fluky plays, the turnover, Sam Darnold's fumble, all of that feels like not the greatest, wasn't probably the greatest idea to even run that play in the first place. And then for him to, he says he should have got rid of the ball quicker. And that's, a lot of times I feel like quarterback, he's taking the blame on himself maybe a little bit too unduly in some of these situations because that's what quarterbacks do a little bit. But on that one, when you're in the end zone, that's once it's different than being at the 30-yard line. And when you're in the end zone and something bad might happen, I think you do really got to be careful about getting rid of the ball there. So, it's just some things like that. But if there's one in the penalties, it's weird because for 3 or 4 weeks, they had the fewest penalties in the NFL. And now suddenly it's gone the other way. It comes amid, there's been a bunch of stories this week, people writing about how penalties are way up around the league. The officials are calling a few things a little more tighter. That was talk at the NFL league meetings that were held this week about that. And owners are sort of like, is this good for the game? And the league's sort of like, well, there's things we want to enforce. So the Seahawks aren't necessarily alone in that, but it did catch up to them on Monday night. But I would in general go back to, obviously the best way you can close out games is to have an effective running game. There's been just really hit and miss. It hasn't, it's statistically, it's not incredibly terrible, I guess, from the overall standpoint. But they're 30th in the NFL in yards per carry, and that's got to get better, I think, going forward.
Yeah, because it's weird because I think we talked about this last week. Their commitment to the run game is, I think, one of the tops in the league, if not the top in the league. But yet their productivity of running the football is very much there at the bottom. So they commit to it. They're just not. It's not. They have not been consistent with running the football. Along those lines, just sticking here with the offense, it doesn't. It feels to me in the last few games, ball security. Been a lot of balls, and Sam Darnold's played great this year, but it does seem like ball security has been a problem here in the last few games. And it's not like there have been interceptions, there's been a fumble, but there's also been passes that haven't been picked off that you look back and go, well, that should have been picked off. That's got to be a little bit of concern right now for Mike McDonald and Clint Kubiak.
Yeah, you're right. Like the Tampa Bay game where the guy dropped the one, and there've been a couple others for sure. And that was a little bit of Darnold's MO earlier in his career, and then last year with the Vikings, that was one of the things that really, in general, cleaned up. In fact, I was going back looking through his numbers last night. And he had he had the 3 interception game midway through last year. And then he only had a couple of, 2 interceptions or something like that the last 8 or 9 games of last season. So it wasn't like a trend at the end of last year or something. Now that he didn't play great in those last 2 games, but it wasn't necessarily he threw a bunch of picks. But yeah, there has been a little bit of that, and certainly it's kind of caught up to him a little bit. The Tampa Bay interception at the end was a little bit fluky, but maybe it was evening out as well for the one that he maybe could have thrown earlier. Sure. So for sure, but still, I think he's only at 4 for the year. His interception percentage, I think, is only like 6th or 7th in the NFL. So it hasn't been high at all, but there's been at least the one fumble as well. 2 fumbles that have been really costly. So they'll look at that as some of it's offensive line stuff at times, and just overall, it's the one other thing about, in general, they've gotten rid of the ball really quickly. But on some of these, sometimes when you want to hit the big passes, you are taking some longer drops. You're back there longer. You're asking your offensive line to block for longer, and that can catch up to you a little bit. And so it's just the whole thing. They'll definitely have to look at that there for sure.
Can they sustain? I think again, another topic we brought up last week, and I just wonder, can they sustain this amount of discrepancy with receptions and targets with JSN and then the rest of the wide receivers? I mean, I thought going into this Houston game, if I was Houston, listen, I'm going to take out JSN and that's it, and we're going to make somebody else beat us. And then you're like, well, that's a simple enough game plan. 14 targets, 8 receptions, $123 and a touchdown, and he's continuing to have just this phenomenal season, is JSN. But then when you look at the other targets for the wide receivers, Cooper Kupp had just 1 target. Jake Bobo had 1. Torrey Horton had 3. And I'm just focusing on the wide receivers because Arroyo ended up having 5. He was the second most after JSN. They would probably admit, right, Bob, that this can't be sustainable. They've got to get other people involved, but it's hard when the number 1 guy has just been so damn good.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, maybe he's really just this good. It's funny. I think I wrote for Sunday. I kind of addressed that a little bit, and I found JSN was asked about that before the Tampa Bay game, and he has since had 3 straight. He's had 100-yard games since then, because he got off to a good enough start then that we were asking him. I don't remember who it was who asked, but somebody asked, and he kind of just gave the answer then about, well, that's when everybody else will have to, that he knows teams are going to start doing that. And that's when everybody else is going to have to pick up the slack. And since then, he's had 3 straight 100-yard games.
Yeah, he's like, F you, I'll show you how I need all the catches.
That's I mean, every team that played the 49ers for 10 years or 15 years when Jerry Rice was there, I'm sure tried things, and Jerry Rice was able to get around it. I mean, if you're really that good, you can probably make it work. That is where Cooper Kupp's numbers obviously are. I think he's averaging about 30 yards fewer per game right now than he had throughout his career. But maybe at some point that's just what there comes a game where he gets 120 yards in receiving because some team really does try to take it out. I just know that's what the Seahawks would tell you as well. We feel like we're positioned enough that if that really happens in a game and some team is just they're going to stick 2 guys on JSN and follow them everywhere, then that's why we drafted Elijah Arroyo, Torrey Horton, and why we have AJ Barner, and why we signed Cooper Kupp and all that. I think they feel like their receiving core would be good enough to account for that.
All right, Bob Condotta of the Seattle Times. I'm going to get to the trade deadline. We love trade deadline talk here. Just a moment. It's around 10 days away. Before we get there, boy, I'll be honest with you, and I'm probably like a lot of people that watch the Seahawks who had no idea in the world who Drake Thomas was. I mean, zero clue. And then I think you wrote about him. Somebody wrote about him. I want to give you full credit for it.
Yeah, well, we all did. It was kind of the obvious.
Everybody wrote about it.
Yeah,
but it was
such. We talked to him one day in the locker room.
It was such a great background of his life and where he went to college and his father and his brothers and all of that. And boy, I can't take my eyes off this guy because I love the underdog story, like everybody does. He's undersized. He probably shouldn't be starting in the NFL. He wasn't drafted, right? And here he is, all the odds against him. And he's starting now on a very good defense. And he's just not some bit player, Bob. I mean, he's making plays all over the place. And he looks like a free safety out there. He looks like a linebacker. And it's just a really cool story. He's just we start this show every week with Chuck Knox, right? And Chuck Knox I think he used to say this, or maybe we've made it up in our imagination, but he's just a football player. Like Drake Thomas is just a football player. And it's been fun to watch this year.
For sure. Yeah, it really has. I remember they claimed him off waivers, Pete Carroll's last year. And I can't remember the exact wording, but I remember Pete being asked about him, and he basically said he's not very big, was like his first comment when he was, because Pete didn't seem to know much about him. As sometimes happened, there were times I think John Snyder found a guy and was like, Pete, we're going to bring this guy in, and Pete had probably never really heard or seen him before, and that struck me as one time that I thought that was the case, where Pete was just like, yeah, whatever you want to do, John, during training camp and everything. So, but yeah, he really has, he's played quite a bit on special teams. Last year, I think he was second on the team or something like that in special teams tackle. So he has been out there and made some plays before, but yeah, he's never really had to on defense before this year. But I think it is, for a couple of weeks there, they seemed to be trying to get him in a little bit more in coverage situations, which I think was what they had decided was a little bit of Tyrese Knight's issue. I think they thought Tyrese Knight was good in the base defense and run downs and stuff like that. And they were getting Drake Thomas in there a little bit there because he does sort of seem to have maybe more of a safety look and skill set to him. But he's just been phenomenal both way. Playing against both the run and the pass. The blitz he had against Jacksonville, the sack he had there. He does just seem to have that real instinct coming from him. And, as he told us, I mean, he's been playing football essentially since he was 3 years old. He's the youngest, or he's the middle child of three sons who all play football. His brother's in the NFL. His younger brother is a backup quarterback right now, but I guess going to be the quarterback probably at NC State in a year or two. And his dad played for Marshall University. So yeah, maybe it's just kind of as simple as that. But if you're going to get to the trade deadline, I know a lot of people mention linebacker as a position they could use, but I right now with the way he's playing, I don't know that they would view that as a need at all. And I think he's totally. I think a lot of these guys are Mike Macdonald players, but I think that's definitely one of those guys that is. As Mike Macdonald has said, he's kind of the perfect representation, I think, of what they view their culture and their team of being. He's every head coach's. I'm not going to say that. He's every coach's dream. He just is. He's just it doesn't matter how big he is. He's just every coach's dream. He plays with that reckless abandonment that you want, especially somebody on defense to play with. Well, we'll see if he can keep it up. It's fun to watch him play because how undersized he is and the position he plays. All right, let's transition to the trade deadline. 10 days away. A lot of the talk has been about Reek Woolen. Let me ask you this. We've discussed him, and we think that there's a high probability he does get dealt. But with their injuries they've sustained so much in the secondary, do you think they should hit the pause button on that one? Do you think they will? Well, that's what's been interesting is, I think Reek might have just been flat out benched a few weeks ago, but they haven't had the ability to because essentially because Devin Witherspoon's been out. So they've been shy one cornerback, and he's still been one of their top, three corners. So he's had a role in the defense most of these weeks. They expect. I know I said this last week, so I'll admit to being wrong. I thought Witherspoon might play last week. He was practicing fully and stuff like that, and they kind of made the decision. It sounds like from listening to what John Schneider in particular said. I think they kind of made a decision to just save these guys, knowing that the bye week was coming up and everything, and especially in Witherspoon's case. But if they expect him back, the other big part of that now is Nick Amenworry, and they're essentially using him as the nickel. So it's hard right now. If all those guys, if Witherspoon comes back and they keep using him and Worry the way they do, then the next time they play, you could easily see Reek Woolen. They're not really being a role for him. That said, as you just mentioned, one injury, then there is a big role for him. And so, but they do have Shaquille Griffin, and I think they feel a lot more confident or comfortable in what they have with him after the way he played against Jacksonville. But still, having good corners are incredibly valuable, and with what they want to do defensively, having really good ones. So it is there, but it comes back to, again, I don't think anybody thinks he's going to be with the team beyond this year. So if you get offered something that makes it worth it to deal him now, and then he also, his contract's like $5.3 million this year, which is because he's still on his rookie deal, but because of what he accomplished earlier in his career, he got one of those, the NFL. I'm blanking on the exact
the incentive contract, right?
The thing that's built into the CBA. It's not something he and the Seahawks worked out. Just by being a 5th round pick who made a Pro Bowl and has played the number of snaps he has, he qualified for a big raise. Essentially, Kobe Bryant did as well this year. So, but Reek's contract's a lot higher than they might have thought. So you could save a couple $1 million. There in cash and cap space if you were able to deal him. So if you could get a decent of enough pick for that. But you're right, they definitely have to weigh what I think they can do this year versus the value of a 4th round pick next year. And if they think we could make it to the Super Bowl, is it worth having keeping him around for what he might be able to give them? And it was interesting how Mike McDonald did really talk him up last week, and how much of that is you can be cynical and say, well, they're trying to send a message to any other teams that might be interested in him, or is McDonald sort of like that they've had talks with him and like, hey, there could still be a role for you here, and if you can buy into this or whatever, and maybe they feel like he responded. McDonald just several times mentioned how well he thought Woolen practiced last week and kind of approached everything.
Is there a right guard on the market, you think?
I don't know if there's anybody better than what they have. I think those are. There's a couple of the veterans out there. Joel Bitonio. He's 34 years old and playing on what's a terrible team right now. So I don't know. Maybe by his history, he'd be an upgrade. They are going to get Josh Jones back. They got him back last week, but I think after the bye, he'll be a lot healthier. If they really felt like they needed to make a move with Bradford, they could try him. He does have some starts in his NFL career. And then Christian Haynes is eligible to come off IR, and if you traded for a right guard, you'd be totally, I think, kind of not making just a statement on Anthony Bradford, but also on what you think of Christian Haynes, who was your 3rd round pick last year, and whether you think he's got any sort of future with the team. So my hunch would be they'd probably be willing to kind of ride with what they have there, unless something really fell into their laps, because I don't know if there's anything logically that's going to be a whole lot better, of an upgrade there.
Ladies and gentlemen, there he is. The last word with Bob Condotta of the Seattle Times, all brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. Check out the brewery. It's open every single day, folks. 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., georgetownbeer.com. Go get there. Check out Manny's, Bodie's, Lucille, Rogers, their new tavern beer, and visit them at georgetownbeer.com. Thank you, Bob. Have a wonderful weekend. No football for you. Kick up your feet and relax, and we'll reconvene next Friday.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, Jason. Talk to you.
Again, if you want to listen or watch to the full Bob Condotta last word from the Seattle Times on the Seahawks, it's available on all podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Also, check it out at pucksports.com. The last word every Friday, Bob Condotta, again, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. Check out their new tasting room and beer garden, open daily, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Visit georgetownbeer.com. No game this week, obviously, with the bye. Then they get back after it the following week, taking on the Washington Commanders, which will be a very good test for them defensively against that offense. We'll wait and see if Jaden Daniels plays in that game. I believe he's not playing again this week there with Marcus Mariota taking the snaps. All right. Before we go here and give you a Hey, What the Puck, always like to do this on a Friday, point out all the other bonus shows that we have throughout the week here on Puck Sports, including our visits every single Thursday. KJ Arntz with the one and only Mitch Levy, of course, host of the podcast, Mitch Unfiltered, which you can get on all of your platforms. As always, on Thursdays, we air KJ Arntz in its entirety during the live DPD. But once the show is over, the only place to listen to it is via the platforms on Patreon if you're a Mitch Unfiltered patron, or if you are a member of the Pucks Posse, and all you have to do is sign up at pucksports.com. On this week's show, talked a lot about picking up the pieces for the Mariners, and apparently Mitch was being driven by his chauffeur, tanning in the sun with the aviator sunglasses on, and we're trying to put the blame on who or why the Mariners are not in the World Series getting ready to take on the Dodgers tonight.
They just let their freaking starter go out for the bottom of the fifth. I'm not asking for a miracle. Just let him go out for the bottom of the fifth. It makes no sense to me. It'll never make sense to me. So what I don't know with that. I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, is it Dipoto or is it Wilson?
Who is it? I don't know.
I don't know.
Like, I don't know who is it? I mean, because it's not just one of them. They have an army of people that make these decisions, and it's not just those two, Hollander, but they've got this army of analytics guys, young guys that sit behind the scenes that give them information. And I know they take it all in. I guess ultimately at the end of the day, it's Wilson's call, but I don't know. It just feels like there are too many hands in the kitchen of making decisions like this.
Let me tell you why I choose to blame Jerry on this.
Okay.
Because I don't like him. So I'm going with Jerry on this. I like Dan. I like Dan more than I like Jerry. So I've decided in my mind it's Jerry's fault.
So there's Mitch's response. He's blaming Jerry. Why? Just because he does not like Jerry. All right. To listen to that full episode, you got to sign up to become a Pucks Posse member. Just go to pucksports.com. Also this week, this is part of the free podcast, which you can get anywhere you find the podcast and up on YouTube. Every single week, we catch up with the boys on Old Crimson, myself, Jim Moore, and Paul Sorensen, former All-American safety at Washington State. Talking Cougar football, coming off another heartbreaking loss to Virginia. They get ready for Toledo this week. Something that has come up here in the last few weeks from some Cougar fans has been the play calling of offensive coordinator Danny Freund, especially in the second half. Do the boys see it the same way as some fans do?
Before you go on, because I know you're going on to something that doesn't involve what I'm about to say. I didn't like our play call on third down either. And obviously...
Well, that's where I was just about to get to.
Was it? Okay, go ahead.
What? We're in sync. What a zone we're in right now. What a team. Love it.
Jim, where I was just going to ask you is they backed up on the end zone. Did you like the play calling?
Fuck you, Paul.
I'm laughing.
How about
the timing?
Paul, have you ever heard
timing?
How about let
Paul,
the guy drive the show who knows what
Paul,
he's doing?
why don't you be a good teammate?
Why are you
every
telling
once
me
in a
to
while?
fuck
I mean,
off?
when you were back being All-American safety, were you like, hey, I'm Paul Sorensen, I'm an All-American safety? Were you a dick as a teammate back then too?
But Paul, does he not think I'm going to ask about that play, especially where we're at?
I thought maybe you were moving on to Toledo or whatever.
I knew you were going to ask that question. I even knew that. So why is he telling me to fuck off when you were the one that was going to ask the question? Jesus.
Okay, Mr. All-American safety.
Okay.
That was 40 years ago. Relax.
That's what you get every single week on Old Crimson with myself, Paul Sorensen, and the go-to guy, Jim Moore. Just a lot of yelling and screaming. Go check it out on your podcast platforms. Old Crimson, putting the Virginia loss in the rearview mirror and getting set for a very tough opponent, Toledo, coming up there on Saturday. That's available on Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube. All right. Before we close out here, a Friday edition of the show, we have to do it. We do it every single show. It's Hey, What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when those damages do affect your property, whether it's residential or commercial. Listen, we got an atmospheric river happening this week. You're going to probably have some damage to your residential or commercial property. If you do, there's only one place to call. That is Restoration One. Trent and the boys are going to take care of you. 206-817-8917. Check them out online as well at Restoration One. That's the number one.com, North Seattle franchise. Go back to what we discussed earlier with Chris Egan and then also Todd Milles from VarsityWaNews.com about the situation at Skyline High School, and simply just comes down to this. I don't put blame on the kids. Certainly are there some kids that are culpable? Sure, but they're influenced by adults and by parents. This is on the parents. Parents got to do better. You got to, and I know this is not a new situation. What happened at Skyline, you have a group of parents, and one parent in particular that has influence, has money. They believe that their money and with their influence on said school then allows them to dictate playing time. It does not. And that's the cardinal sin of any parent, to any coach at any level, is going up to a parent or going up to a coach and dictating playing time. It's the number one rule that you do not do as a parent. You can voice your concerns. You can go up to the coach and ask him, hey, how can my son, how can my daughter, how can they improve? That's one thing. Going up and demanding playing time over someone else who's more deserving of playing time, and you think that your son or daughter should play over them just because you gave money, it's the worst. It's the worst of parents. What was displayed here this past week up at Skyline is the worst of the worst. It does. This story has affected me more than the Mariners, and I know that sounds crazy. And because it's at a personal level, it's at someone who coaches youth sports. This is the thing that when you coach, you do not have to deal with and should never have to deal with. And it's happening too often now because parents, for some reason, are living through their kids, and they believe that they don't believe that their kids are getting a fair shot, that there's alternate ways to go ahead and solve that. They're setting a bad example for their kids. Anytime they face adversity later in life, there's some easy way out. They try to get the easy way out. They pick the wrong team. They pick the wrong coaching staff to try and get the easy way out. I don't let the school district or the school off the hook. They should never, ever had suspended Peyton Pelluer. That investigation, though, lasted, 2 days? And then it was over quickly. And they ultimately did the right thing. Who did not do the right thing were the parents and people associated with that booster club. Take a long look in the mirror and just ask yourself, what are the values that we're handing down to our kids? That's Hey What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle. It's your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call. Those damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. As always, big thanks to everybody watching and listening today. Thank you to all of our sponsors, Limback Lumber, Georgetown Brewery, Restoration One, Flat Stick Pub. To Jim's sponsors, even though he wasn't here today, we still thank them on a Friday. Clean Streak, Brotherton Cadillac, and the Angry Beaver. Please find today's Daily Puck Drop up on YouTube. When you're there, subscribe to the channel. Also hit the like button. Also, find today's episode on your favorite podcast platforms. And you can find everything at pucksports.com, including signing up to become a member of the Pucks Posse. Just $5 a month gets you access to everything. You support all the daily content we do. In addition to that, bonus shows throughout the week, including KJ Arntz with our good friend Mitch Levy from Mitch Unfiltered. And, of course, you can find everything always at pucksports.com. Stay dry. It's going to be a wet one this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday. We'll put the wraps next week on baseball with all of our regular guests. Then we'll make the transition over to football as we ride out the rest of the year. Enjoy the long weekend. We'll see you on Monday. As always, promise to be better.
No shoes, no ties.
Anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you, but you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for? We like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!